What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next, I've got a really amazing comic coming up for sale in the next ComicLink auction. I thought it would be interesting to talk about it here, maybe speculate what this book might go for, because I think it could be a really big number. Stay tuned. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So my Instagram buddy Dan sent me a link to a listing on this upcoming ComicLink auction. This auction starts on, I believe, November 17th. And so that's when you can actually start bidding on things. I don't think the actual sales start occurring for a couple weeks later, something like that. But it's a really cool item, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about what this one might go for, because it's really unique and part of one of the biggest comic books ever. So I'm going to change my screen around. We're going to go check out that book and maybe try to figure out what this might sell for.
A few moments later.
All right, so here we are on the ComicLink homepage, basically for this auction that they have coming up. This is their fall featured auction. They have two types of auctions. They have their featured auctions and their focused auctions. Featured auctions are the bigger ones. They're the ones that tend to have more books, have more expensive books, the big stuff. And you can see some of those books right here that they're advertising as part of this. You've got a Batman 1, because every one of these auctions seems to have a Batman '1. Then you've got some other things like a 9/6 Amazing Spider-Man #3, first Doc Ock. You've got some original art here, and then you have a 9/9 detective, or a 9/9 DC Comics Presents #26, which is the first Teen Titans. But the book that we're talking about here isn't even on this, and I think it could potentially sell for more than anything on this list. And I think that's one of the most surprising things, and maybe they don't expect it to, but I think it has the potential to. And if you saw the thumbnail for this video, we're talking about a Detective Comics #27, which is the first appearance of Batman. You can see that right here, first appearance of Batman, but you can see it is graded as a CVR. And so if you're not familiar with CVR, this means that it's just the cover. So it's, they shorten cover, it's CVR, but it's also a green label. It's a qualified grade. And that's because the back cover is married. Or basically, effectively, the front cover is also married. But it's the front and back cover from two different copies of Detective Comics #27. And it's actually, it's got this piece missing out here, but colors look pretty great for this. It's a pretty presentable looking cover. And then you've got the back cover here. And you could say, well, how do they know if it's split? How do they know that it's not the same cover? What they almost certainly did was they line up where the staple tears are, or where it looks like the staple holes are, and they don't line up with between the front and the back cover. That's how they probably know that it's not from the same book. So somebody took the time, was able to put together, getting the front and back cover separately, got them graded together here, got this, Detective Comics #27 qualified. Now, the first thing I did when I saw this was that, because this has happened before, I've seen instances where you had a back cover that was the wrong back cover. So I wanted to check that first, just because I'm not familiar with what the back cover of Tech 27 looks like. So one way you can do that is I went to GPA, and this is one of the tools that I use to look up prices and price comics, that kind of thing. And if you just go to one of the copies that has sold, and let's say we go to this copy here, which I believe sold on Heritage. Yep. And if we take a look at the back cover, we can see this is what the back cover looks like. It's got this printing press thing on the center here. And if we go to the Tech 27, I've got that same printing press back cover, 59D in the upper corner. All this stuff looks the same. So it is the back cover for Detective Comics #27. Very likely, I guess it's possible, maybe there's something that's different, that there's another book that used the exact same one. I don't know for sure, but yeah, I'm thinking we have the back cover for this Tech 27. And so why do I think that this could potentially sell for more than, what do we have? We had these other big books here. We had, a Batman #1, a 1.8. You have this Amazing Spider-Man #3 and a 9.6. Some books that are going to go for, in the Batman 1, over 100,000. No question that this Batman 1's going to go over 100,000. This one's going to be a multi-$10,000 book. But I think this book, or this one here, I think just this cover could break six figures, could go over $100,000. And why do I think that? So first things we can do is we'll look at what a Detective Comics number 27 sells for. And I'm going to select, all the different types that we might see, restored copies, qualified copies, that kind of thing. Because you don't have universal copies sell all that often. I mean, you don't have copies at all sell very often, but we want to look at what a restored copy might go for as well. And if we look at some of the most recent sales, September of 2022, we had an A1, so A means professional, 1 means small amount, restored copy, go for $384,000. We had an A5, so a lot of restoration, but also professional. 7.0 go for $336 in November of 2021. We had a Universal 6.0 go for $1.74 million in March of this year. We had a 5.0 in June of 2021 go for $1.1 million, a 4.5 go for $1.14. I mean, you can see this is a book that it sells for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, whether it is restored or not. And this is going to be something very similar to that Action Comics number 1, that 0.5 that sold a little while ago on Heritage, and it went for like 408,000, something like that, for a 0.5 that was missing the back cover and pretty damaged front cover. So how do we use this to try to estimate what this cover might go for? So one thing is that if we go down here, you'll see that we had a back cover that sold not too long ago for $2,666. That actually feels like a steal. It makes me almost wonder if it wasn't tracked right, but it probably was. Yeah, let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, so we had this back cover that's missing a huge part of the cover, and so this went for $2,666. I probably would go for quite a bit more if it had a bigger chunk of the cover there, but let's pretend that the back cover maybe sells for 10 grand, something like that, in this state, because this is pretty nice, so at least 10. I'm going to say at least 10 grand. Then I don't believe there are any front cover only copies that have sold where you just have the front cover. Thought I had checked through this. Yeah, there were no front cover only, but there was a coverless copy that sold. And there's this coverless copy right here. And it was, I think, like a light tan type copy, but page quality, we're not going to worry too much about that with this. So yeah, Detective Comics number 27, coverless, sold on Heritage in April of 2022 for $78,000. And so one thing that people often try to do is they'll try to, kind of like Frankenstein a book together to find the different pieces and try to recreate at least a complete copy of that book. And so we know there's at least one person out there that has one of these. And there have been other ones that have sold. I don't know if they're the same ones or not. I can't actually see that one. I can't see that one. And I can't see this. So I can't see if this is actually the exact same book, but we can assume there is at least one coverless copy that's out there that's sold. There was also, I think there was one up here that had a color copy as the cover. And that one we also can't see a link to. So we don't know exactly if that's the same one, and maybe this person just took that color copy out or something like that. But there is at least this copy that sold for $78,000. So we could say if this person, or who knows if they still own it today, this person decides they want to make a complete copy of Detective Comics number 27. So the person that owns this, or maybe there's a couple other people that own a coverless copy, they are the big target for this item, because they now can get both the front and back cover, and they can create a complete copy. And what you would probably want to do, what I would do if I was doing this, is so that you could get a conserved label, you would take your coverless copy, you would take this right here and have it leaf casted. So you would send it off to, someone that could leaf cast the book, like what I did with my Superman number 2. I sent it to Sanderson Studios to have him leaf cast the book and do some cleaning and that kind of thing, so that I could get a conserved label with my Superman number 2. That is the same thing I would do here. I would want a conserved label, because if you're not familiar, a conserved label still has the blue color, but it just has a gray bar on the top. And a lot of people they like the visual appeal of that blue color for the label. And so a conserved label is very appealing. And so if you get this thing leaf cast, then you have it reattached to that cover, because you could take, let's get rid of this one. You could take these staples, you pull the staples out, you put the cover on, you reattach the staples, and now you're going to get, I mean, who knows, after the thing's cleaned and you have all these empty spots filled in, you have the covers now all reattached together. I mean, you might get a 2.0, 2.5, 3, something like that with this Detective Comics number 27. And it's going to be one of those conserved labels. It's not the purple label. You get the blue label. It looks nice, all that. And so now what do we think a 2.5 or a 3 conserved label book might go for? And so, like I said, like even at the low end here, a 4.5 went last year for 1.1 million. If you had a 2.0, I'm guessing it probably still sells for 700,000, 800,000. Probably doesn't break a million, I doubt. But if a 2.0 goes for like 700,000, so what's the conserved copy going to go for? Maybe half that, 400,000. Maybe 350 to 400,000. So when I look at that, I go, okay, this person spent 78,000 here on this. If they think, or if you think that hypothetically a complete conserved copy could sell for $350,000 or $400,000, which I don't think is outside the realm of reason. I think that's very likely, and I think it could potentially even go for more than that. So that means that just having this cover, the front and back covers, I mean, this alone could be worth $200,000, maybe more than that. I mean, it could be a $200,000 to $225,000 item. That's just the front and back cover, which I think is pretty crazy and it's pretty cool. But I'm really going to be watching this one because I want to know what it's going to go for. I mean, this is the type of book where, I mean, people can spend their lifetimes trying to put one of these books together, trying to find a cover. And like you saw on GPA, at least unless I missed it, I didn't see one instance of a front cover only selling, meaning that in all the history of GPA pulling in eBay sales, Heritage sales, Comic Connect sales, Hakes auction, My Comic Shop, all this stuff, never has a front cover only, at least graded, come up for sale. Doesn't mean there haven't been raw copies that have been out there and circulating, that kind of thing, but never a front cover only graded copy has sold, meaning that this could be, I mean, not necessarily once in a lifetime, but maybe pretty close to it chance to put this book back together. And so I imagine somebody is going to be really willing to put the money in to get this thing. And I would not be shocked if this went for over $200,000. I mean, that's a big number. It's possible it goes for a lot less than that, but I would not be shocked if this cover, the front and back cover, goes for over $200,000 and ultimately gets used to put a book back together, which then could have a value of $350,000, $400,000, something along those lines. Now, if you're wondering what a conserved book looks like, there was a Captain America #1 relatively recently that sold, that was a conserved copy. And so then I can show you what that label looks like. It was one of these, it was a Larson pedigree. Somebody had replaced the staples, which they probably really, really regret. But this is what a conserved label looks like, and when you look at this compared to what a blue label, let's see if we've got a newer blue label here, this compared to this, they are very, very similar. And I mean, there have been times when I've been pricing out books that I've missed that gray bar and I've priced a conserved book as a universal book. And I'm sure that happens fairly regularly. And so it's very easy to miss something like that. So just something to be aware of if you're ever, looking at, these types of comics, that conservation, the label color is the same. The only difference is this, and I believe, and then it says conserved up here on the top. So it's just that gray bar. And so the visual appeal is much better. And so that's what I think will likely happen with this one. You're going to have this book put back together and someone is going to really be willing to pay up for this. Now, the issue is just going to be, are there two people out there that have coverless copies? Because if there's only one, that's the person that really wants it, and they're going to be the one that really wants to put that money in to try to pick this up. And so you might not have that bidding, you might not have that fight out to get those really big numbers. But if there's more than one, maybe there's two, maybe there's three, four, something like that, then I think you're really going to have some competition. Or maybe there's just somebody that's going to go like, I want to own that so that I at least have the cover. And then if I ever get the chance again to pick up the interior, then they would have that ability to put a book together. So I think this is a really appealing item. It's a really cool item. And I think that it potentially could go for more than everything else. At least I don't know how much this original art would go for. Original art's always tough, but all these other books up here, I think it could potentially beat the prices for all of them. I mean, let's take a look at Batman #1. I mean, a Batman #1 in a 1.8, probably $150,000 book, $125,000 book would be my rough guess without looking. Yeah, so the last one was $138,000. I think that cover alone could easily surpass that type of number. Now, I have no idea what a 9.9 DC Comics Presents #26 goes for, but I can't imagine it's that type of number. I mean, a lot of times those 9.9s go for about 20 times what the 9.8 goes for, and I think the 9.8's like around 1,000. Yeah, 1,000. So that one might be like a $20,000 book or a $15,000 book. But yeah, I think that this cover here is going to be really fun to watch. So, if you don't normally watch ComicLink or you're not familiar with ComicLink, hey, go mark this one and check it out and see what it ultimately ends up selling for, because I think this is going to be a pretty cool auction. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I thought that was a pretty cool item that's going to be coming up for sale. Let me know in the comments, you planning on bidding on this thing? Do you have that coverless copy and you're trying to put this all together? If so, you're probably not too happy that I'm bringing more attention to it, because maybe it causes it to sell for a little bit more money. But I thought this was really cool, fun item to talk about. Thanks, Dan, for pointing this one out to me. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. I've got more videos over here. If you want to watch some of my other videos, subscription button is right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video.